Today we'll be looking at video editing software using my current favorite, Camtasia. I've chosen to use it for editing the course videos as well as this demonstration because it has all the tools I need without being overwhelming. We'll just start ourselves a new project here. Essentially what you do is you've got a timeline starting at 0 and just increasing that way, see down at the bottom, and you place a video clip and then another video clip and then a still image and another video clip. Just string them out in line. And you've got a playhead that you can drag to start playing it wherever you want to see it happen. You can also stack things. So if this were a video clip and this were a still image, as you play from here to here, it would start out just showing the video clip, and then the still image would show up in the middle of the screen, and then it would stop, and the video clip would keep on going. And you can set their degrees of transparency or anything like that that you want. It's really a pretty intuitive interface after the first couple of tries. Let me just show you what the story is. Let me give you a little tour of how most of these programs are laid out. We've got a sort of a minimal top menu here in Camtasia. There's more in Adobe Premiere just because it does more stuff, frankly. They did Avatar with Adobe Premiere. So yeah. Another program in the Adobe Campus suite is Adobe After Effects. That's once you've made the movie, you can run it through there for fog and to put a monster's face on top of a human's face. So when the human turns and snarls, the monster turns and snarls. I mean, it's crazy. My son does that for a living, and I have no idea how it works. Top menu, it's got file operations, open, save, preferences, that kind of stuff. And I guess the real difference here between what happens in a video editing software and, let's say, a word processor is, or in Revit, in those programs where you create a document, that's the document, you save it and send it to somebody like that. In the video editing programs, you're really constructing sort of the blueprints, the plan of a video. Once you're done, then you need to export it out to some sort of video format. I export directly to the YouTube channel for the classroom videos, or you can send it out to a local file, an MP4 or something or other like that. So what we're doing here is essentially a set of instructions. The thing I liked about Camtasia, not to toot its horn too much, but everything I need to use is just right here all the time. And I select one of these, the various options show up just over here in this sidebar. So it's just easy to keep track of them all. Very visual and very graphic. Like Revit, all the programs come with libraries of useful stuff. Sound beats, it's like the furniture library. If I just want to pick some audio, I can just drag that down to here and hit play. So there are sound clips we can bring in. There's titles, there's gradients, there's all sorts of stuff we can bring in. But let's look a little more closely at this. So a library, down here is the main. This is the timeline that starts at 0 and goes up in 30th of a second increments because the default broadcast here is 30 frames per second, and as long as you want. The playhead is you drag this to where you want to start playing, or you can use it to identify a part that you want to silence or delete or something like that. Let me just bring some stuff into the media bin. Just the way that hitting the library button here started to bring up the things that are in my library. When I click on the media button, it brings up my media bin, which is all the different audio clips, video clips, and still images and titles and things that I actually am using in this video, just like the families you've loaded into Revit, but haven't necessarily placed in the model yet. And I'm going to go get some of these. These are 4 video clips of the current seniors' final presentations last spring. So those show up here. And if I want to play one of them, I can bring it down, just drag and drop, and hit play. This is Courtney and Olivia's project. So, if I want to have that followed by something else, I just drag it down. With this, I can see what they're starting on. If I decide I want to stop right there, I can cut it, get rid of all this part, delete key. So now I have 2 clips taking just over a minute. So if I'm playing those, So that's a quick cut. If I decide I want those to be cross-faded or something, I can go into my visual effects. No, sorry, transitions. Transitions. And there's just all these some of these are just terrible. They look like flipping cards. They look like little hearts growing. It's like, I hope you'll appreciate that I only use a very, very few of these. I'll do a couple of them just for fun. We'll do this concentric image. I just drag and drop the effect onto the cut between the two clips. I was going to say don't get carried away with transitions, but hey, for the assignment, go for it. Have fun. But when you do this for a real presentation, remember, kids, if you use a different transition between every two clips, people won't be able to pay any attention to your video. They're just waiting for the next transition. So I'm going to enlarge this a little bit, get rid of that. Delete. I use mostly is the fade, as you might have seen, just cross fading two things. So we play it, just that kind of very cinematic sort of a thing. So we've got the media, we've got the timeline, and then we have the canvas, which is a preview of what we'll be creating when we export it. Each clip has properties, just the same way that furniture has properties in Revit. We can change the scale of something. Let's change the scale of something. Oh, sorry, that was that one. So that's 393%. Let's take that back down to 0. I'm 100. One thing I like about this is on multiple screens, I can drag this canvas off onto another screen. So I have this screen all for controls and then what's showing on another one. We can change the proportions of it. We can change the opacity of things, move them, rotate them. If I wanted to bring in an image, I've got a screen capture program here, which I can bring into Camtasia. The tracks in the video programs work just the way that the layers do in Photoshop, stacked one above the next. So if I bring that in, then it sits on top. I can crop it. Anyway, so you can bring images on top. And what we have finally down here are tracks. And there's 1 and 2 that's to start with. And you can add these as necessary to keep track of anything you want to have happening. So putting these together ends up being pretty tedious if your initial videos, let's say, are just a lot longer than you need. You have to sort of you have to know your material and be able to trim it down to the parts that you want to work with before you end up spending a lot of time worrying about transitions and fades and stuff. So I'm going to get rid of this transition, get rid of this image. I'm going to try to put something together with these 4 videos that I've got. We've got this one already of the building getting put together. This one's pretty quiet because microphone's back on the camera that was taking video. But once we bring this in, we can boost the volume level to get it something like what we need. So there's this long stretch. Let me shorten these down. We'll stop that. So we see this whole thing is pretty long. Let's Okay, so this is like a minute long. Because I cut it out. That's right. Let me get rid of this that's been cut and bring it in again. So this whole thing is 5 minutes long. And what I'll do to decide what I want to them to present, I'm going to cut out Dimitri and the lights and wait to get around to what they want to be talking about. And probably right here is where I want to start it. So I'm going to give it a little extra. And I can do a couple things. I can just cut it there, or I can just drag this end back so that the thing starts there. Push it forward. And just eyeballing, I don't know what they're saying, but this looks like useful information about the building. And the architect. And maybe I'll just stop that right there. And here I'll cut it and get rid of that. Bring this down, see what it is. I don't even know if these are in the order that I want to have them in. But something about Enscape, we don't need all that. Some of the video editing programs play the soundtrack very fast as you drag the playhead along the timeline, a feature called scrubbing. Frankly, I find it so irritating that I turn it off when it's available. Camtasia doesn't have it, Premiere does. Cut that, get rid of it. Trying to find a good place to stop. So, and while we're at it, this is how Enscape works in a live demonstration, where you can move around inside it and have all the lighting reflections working as you're doing it. So that's sort of boring. Let's cut to there. I'll just take it to there. And lastly is this one. And what I'm looking at down the bottom here is trying to see where there's audio, which is what these spikes consist of, which is the soundtrack going along, a little abstraction of that. And you can see right now, whatever camera this was used for this had the microphone either turned way down or wasn't very sensitive to start with. So I'm not sure how that can be fixed, but I'll just stop this right here for test. So we now have a 4-minute little summary of this this thing. We want to put in titles. We can insert text either into empty black space or onto the image. Let's just see what that might look like. And that would be in annotations. And this can be white text. Let's see, we'll do white text here. Make it black. And then something like this that's sitting on top, we can pick this piece of text and then give it some motion, some animation. Let's say a behavior where we'll have it do a slow reveal. I can just drag this effect on top of that object, so it will gradually reveal itself. Just a lot of things to put together. If I decide, instead of going for a transition between this frame and this frame, instead of having to go look for fade every time in transitions, if I go down to fade once, I can star it, which puts it up in my favorites category. So from then, if I just want to do that, I can find my favorite transitions and fonts and that kind of stuff here, and then just drag it down from there instead of having to dig through all the possibilities of transitions. When I'm doing the class presentations, a lot of times I'll find I've stuttered or I've said something 3 or 4 different times trying to get it right. And a lot of times I just silence all that and put my own, then just record new video, and that's this way with voice narration. And I'll just say, this is our final presentation. And then it saves that to some magic place here in the hard drive, but also then places it at the cursor right when I started. So I could have that happen right here. And to clean out space so I can hear it, I can take this and silence it. And then put my own sound on top of it. So we get something not working with setup here. It doesn't happen at home, as you can tell, but it allows me to compress and consolidate and fix the stutters and that kind of stuff, just to replace one audio with another. And the process at the end, when we're kicking out the final video to export these, is we have what's called rendering, where all these are basically the program runs right along here and creates each of those frames and writes that out to disk, just whatever the combination of sound and video and transparency and titles happen to be for that frame. Let's go here to the end. So this is not a great video, but let's just see what's involved here. And then we go to export. I'm just going to save it out to a local file here. I haven't even named the project. Let me cancel that for a second. So I'll go to File, Save As. So the whole project, the whole idea of all these guys coming together and being arranged this way, I'm just going to call Documents Camtasia Demo for Class. Export. Export. Local file. Demo for Class. C, let's put this on the desktop so I can just find it again. I'm locked into OneDrive. Crazy. We'll see what happens. So now just sort of the way that Revit would take one walkthrough animation frame at a time and then ultimately stick them together into one AVI file. Camtasia is doing the same thing and putting them together into an MP4 file. These programs are all very good about importing all kinds of video file formats and still images format. This one will import all the standard images plus PDFs plus PowerPoint presentations. Render, render, render. Okay, let's go to View Media. So this is standalone video. And yes, in anything except a demonstration, it would indeed have sound. So badly put together, but that's not what we're trying for here. But it's video, and these are made to fill the screen. Has all the controls that come with one of these. Okay, enough of that. I honestly think it takes me hours and hours to edit these guys down to something concise and useful. I'm only cutting out about half of it each time. What I would ask you to do ahead of time, before you even start doing your animations in Revit or Cohome or wherever you're doing that, is really think about what's the most important part of your project that you want to show. We don't want to just wander endlessly down around your corridors and see all the different studio. What's really the most effective thing going to be? And what still images will be useful to have? For the assignment, I think I said two video clips and 3 still images, sort of at a minimum, just to understand how to use them. Will you show exterior still images and interior animations, historic photographs, inspiration images, animations, one on the first floor and one on the second floor? Think about that ahead of time. And that gets into the idea of storyboarding, which is a quick graphic representation of each clip, still or video, and how long each will last. I mean, let's say this whole thing might end up being, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes long. Just say a guess. Think about if you want to do voiceover. Think about if you want to add a soundtrack. Do you need explanatory text? All of these can be incorporated. You can record just directly to the microphone in your laptop. That's not a problem. I would try to do that in the same room or the same place if you're doing a couple of different ones, so the acoustics sound the same and one's not echoey and one's not flat. The whole storyboarding idea is it's something you really just need to dive in and do. Well, I mean, you guys are self-critical anyhow in terms of how you look at what you've done and think, no, it could be better this way. Now it's just time to extend that attitude toward how you're presenting your work to other people through time. Is there a way within like 2 or 3 minutes that you can really convey the essence of your project in terms of vertical spaces in the building, in terms of what it's like to go through the space, in terms of what the character of the spaces are? Are they daylit? Are they entirely internal? I've done this with only a couple of projects, a full-fledged video. I showed you that one, a presentation. That took a really long time. I think I made about $3 an hour or something, but if you counted all the computer time. Try to make decisions ahead of time so you don't end up endlessly reviewing this video to get it right. Think ahead of time about what you really want to show and how long that should take. Something that's useful to know when you're setting up your Revit animation, if your camera is moving through the building at 20 feet per second, it will feel like a roller coaster ride around the corners. As we just demonstrated in class, a good walking speed is around 4 feet per second. So let me show you how that works out. Creating a short walkthrough animation. Okay, walkthrough. Why am I seeing nothing here? Oh, this is funny. Okay. I was wondering why I didn't see anything, and it's because this opened in the ceiling plan view, so I'm actually up on the other floor walking around. There's nothing there. So let's level 1 new. Let's go to there. Okay. Hey, what was all? Oh, this is my son's tattoo shop. Oh, that's fun. That's great. Okay, which is about to open. It's so great. Okay, so let me do a 3D view, walk through, start at the front door, move through here. I don't know, do something like that. Come out the back. So I go to edit walkthrough. Let's go back to the walkthrough itself. Edit walkthrough. I got these guys. Step back to these previous keyframes. Select it. Go down to walkthrough frames. And so what it's telling me here, this is in the properties of the walkthrough down at the bottom, is my speed feet per second along that route is basically 2 feet per second for the number of frames that we set up at that frame rate. And that's pretty slow. That's just moseying through. So really, if I wanted to make this feel like human walking speed, if I take that down to 150 frames, apply, then I'm more like 4 feet per second. So you can play it that way. I mean, I think for this application, we would like it to feel like, oh, I'm walking through the space, as opposed to I'm dragging ass through the space or I'm flying through the space. So if I say 150 frames a second, let's just see if this works out. Okay, file, export. So see, let's make sure that I'm telling you the truth here. So we said 50. Okay, so 150, total time 10 seconds. That doesn't seem very long, but let's just see how it works. Okay. And we'll do this out to documents walkthroughs. Okay, we'll do that. We won't appear to be walking at 4 feet per second as we render it out because each frame takes some measurable amount of time to render, and even longer in realistic mode than in hidden line. Is it happening? I hadn't got around to doing this. Full frames uncompressed, okay. There we go. That's a little quick. A question from the floor. Why is it so pixelated? Because it's a small image. Yeah, I really should have done this at 1080p resolution and turn the lines off and done color and stuff. Well, if you're doing it black and white, that's entirely fine. But I mean, right now the resolution of this is like 400 by 500 pixels, which is a tiny image. So let's take that to full 1080p, which would be, let's get the proportions there first. Size crop. If you remember from that last time, 8 by 4.5 is the same as 16 by 9, which is the same as 1920 by 1080. So that's the typical view. File, export, and this is the one that's selected, so that's good. What it does have to do with is the resolution right here. So we kick this up to horizontals 1920. This one will kick up to 180 because that's the same proportions. 1080, 1920 by 1080. It's all in the notes. And I'm gonna say I need more frames than this. Where do I change the frames? That was just too fast, as far as I'm concerned. We just flew through there. So that's back in here. Let's kick it back to 300. Apply. Okay. File. Export. Just click it and do it. Walk through them. Okay, 1080, 1920. Okay, 1920, 1080. Don't need the time and date stamp. Okay. Walk through 2, still in document, save. We'll replace this one, yes. Okay. The reason this is taking so much longer to render than the first time through is that there may be 8 times as many pixels per frame to be rendered. Now we'll play it. Okay, so here you are. Yeah. And to some extent, the playback depends on how fast your computer can pull the video off the hard drive. So sometimes running it the second time is faster because it's already in memory, or smoother. Not exactly. Yeah, so you have, I mean, you can't just take a little tiny image like this and blow it up and expect to be big, and you can't do the same thing with a video image.